Chapter 8. Crossing Off Suspects. McGonagall, Dobby, Malfoy, Moaning Joanne, and Tom Riddle, Hermione read. That's 5 people. We should narrow down that list. I don't think Joanne did it. Why not? She looks super guilty, Harry said. Moaning Joanne sat on the floor in a daze. Never have I imagined anything like this to happen. Somehow this happened and now I'm spending my time in a bathroom. Moaning Joanne, did you kill Dudley? Ron asked. She came back to reality. You killed Dudley? What about his arc? I don't think she did it, Hermione stated. You're probably right, Harry agreed. Stay in town. Leave town? I never leave this bathroom, Moaning Joanne snapped. Oh, if it's so easy, then I'll put you under house arrest. Then you won't be able to put pictures of snakes in rooms off of dark tunnels, Harry threatened. Hermione crossed Moaning Joanne's name off the list. Dobby wasn't here last year, so I don't think he did it. True, and no one would protect Dudley, Harry agreed. Hermione crossed Dobby off the list. McGonagall, Malfoy, and Tom Riddle. Let's go investigate, Harry said in his superhero pose. They walked to McGonagall, who was still invested in the fight. Harry and Ron broke up the fight, and McGonagall booed. You know, I have the authority to take away house points. One of the students in the fight complained about their arm hurting and decided to go to the hospital wing. Don't forget to tell Madame Pomfrey that it was a McGonagall-related injury, injured citizen, Harry called. Before they could begin talking to the suspect, Ron pulled them back. Let's do good cop, bad cop, high cop. I call high cop, he whispered. Who else would do it? Hermione jeered. Well, we know who's bad cop, Harry said. Ahem, McGonagall yelled. What do you children want? We wants the stinking truth, ma'am, Ron bellowed. Miss McGonagall, Harry began, I am 100% sure that you are perfectly innocent of this minor mishap, but do you happen to know anything at all that would point us to Dudley's homicider? McGonagall stared at Harry with a blank, bored expression. Don't try to deny it. We'll get you to crack. You'll tell us everything. Then we'll eat cake, and while we lock you up in a prison forever, and laugh. Professor McGonagall, did you know Dudley Dursley? Hermione asked. Ah, yes. Dursley. Overweight but a determined fighter. Still, he's terrible at fighting. He started an amazing fight at the beginning of last year. Oh, hey! She exclaimed as she looked at Harry. You were the one fighting him! She glared at Hermione. And you were the one who ended the fight. I ought to punch you till you're crying in a corner. The 3 of them started running for McGonagall. She didn't do it. I think she's shown her violent side very well. Yeah, but she wouldn't use a tree branch to stab Dudley. She'd use her fists to kill him, Ron concluded. And she'll use her fists to kill me if we don't get away from her, Hermione cried. They ran around the grounds of Hogwarts, but McGonagall showed no signs of slowing down. Hagrid looked up from watering his flowers and ran over to help. He stopped McGonagall and reprimanded her. Ron, Harry, and Hermione walked towards Hagrid to thank him. Why does everyone want to kill ya? Hagrid asked as he restrained the still furious McGonagall. We're just lucky, Hermione suggested. Hagrid left to bring McGonagall to Dumbledore's office while Harry, Ron, and Hermione left to find Malfoy. Harry skipped down the halls laughing. Back to Slytherin. Mud doesn't like Slytherin, but we're going back to Slytherin. We're going back to Slytherin again. They got to Slytherin and found Malfoy at his usual spot. Back so soon? Will you be requesting a tour this time? Not this time, Ron answered. We wanted to talk to you. Me? Why is that? Where were you on the last day of school last year? Harry asked, leaning in and trying to intimidate him. I was helping distribute the snakes to each student. We all take one for the summer. I get to keep one of our basilisks this year. So you didn't stop at the forest to meet an annoying student? Harry asked. No. Slytherin's students are very busy. I have never been to a forest around Hogwarts. Liar, Harry yelled. During the commotion of Slytherin on that day, you slipped out unnoticed. You went to the forest and killed the victim with a nearby tree branch. Malfoy doesn't have any motive for killing Dudley, Hermione defended. Objection, Harry shouted. Everyone has a motive to kill Dudley. But why was Malfoy in the forest? Hermione asked. And what was Dudley doing there? Ron looked at Harry. Can I be the judge? Sure, Harry answered. What makes you qualified to be the judge? Hermione asked. Since I've met so many of them, I know exactly what they say, Ron answered. Can you answer the defense's question, Mr. Potter? Here's what happened. Malfoy accidentally killed the snake he was supposed to take care of for the summer. He couldn't let anyone know, so he brought the dead snake to the forest and buried it. Dudley had watched Malfoy enter the forest and followed him. Malfoy realized Dudley had seen too much, and so he grabbed a tree branch and stabbed him. That theory is utterly ridiculous and is built on pure speculation, Hermione argued. Harry shook his head. The defendant never told us what snake he had taken care of last summer. From what he said earlier, we can infer that the snake he was supposed to take care of wasn't as good as a rare basilisk. I also know that common snakes aren't counted well and that several may be missing. He covered his mistakes so that he could still have enough of a reputation to take care of a basilisk the next year. This year. Objection! Hermione shouted. This is only pointing out the fact that this is possible. There's no evidence. Overruled, Ron decided. I don't believe in coincidences. It's awfully suspicious that Malfoy had the opportunity and motive to commit this crime, Harry concluded. If there are no more objections, I will declare the defendant guilty of the murder of Dudley Dursley, Ron declared. You are a terrible defense attorney, Malfoy said to Hermione. It was very brave of you to defend a criminal in order to give him a fair trial, Harry said. What part of this was fair? Hermione asked. And since when was this a trial? May I say one thing that my attorney failed to mention? For 8 kilos of drugs, Ron answered. They all stared at him. What? Our courts are corrupt. Students of Slytherin wouldn't use such tools to kill. We would use the poison of a snake's venomous bite. That's how I would have killed someone if I had a dead snake with me. The defendant makes a good point, Ron said. I'll have to reconsider my decision. He thought for a moment and then announced his verdict. Probably not guilty. Great job, defense. I usually have to drug everyone to get a not guilty. How do you? Hermione asked. Are you even keeping track of all the people at Hogwarts that I've drugged so far? Ron scoffed. It was easy, especially since they don't monitor those pitchers of water. They just sit there in the empty courtroom until the trial starts. Stay in town, Harry said as they walked out of the room. They went back down the hall and up the stairs. They got outside Hogwarts and walked to the forest. Tom Riddle had to have killed Dudley. I was always suspicious of him. He lives in the forest and threatens to kill people, Hermione explained. And he likes stabbing people, Ron added. How do you know that? Hermione asked. Because he tried to stab us the last time we met him, Ron answered. What? Don't worry, I have mad drug skills. He didn't stand a chance. Hagrid walked towards them. He caught up with them and got their attention. Professor Dumbledore needs to see ya. I'm innocent, I tells ya, Ron yelled. This time it isn't about just ya, Hagrid said. They followed Hagrid down the gargoyle corridor and into a large round room. Steps with archways led to an elevated portion of the room. A desk, chair, and perch sat on the elevated area. Bird toys hung around the room. As Hagrid walked to the desk, he had to hold the hanging toys out of his way. Harry, Hermione, and Ron were short enough to walk under most of the toys. A red and gold bird flew around the room from one place to another before going back to the perch near Dumbledore. Welcome, Dumbledore said as they climbed the steps. Careful on those steps. I've never liked them. Anyway, I've heard you 3 are looking into Dudley Dursley's murder. That's right, citizen. We even know who did it, Harry said in his best superhero pose. Already? Hagrid asked as the bird flew around the room again. Yeah, we've been talking to all our suspects, Hermione explained. We haven't actually talked to our prime suspect yet. Well, if you decide to talk to them, be careful, Dumbledore instructed. Don't put yourselves in danger. It's our job to keep our students safe. Then whose idea was it to hire McGonagall? Hermione asked. Ron took out a bag of drugs. We'll be fine as long as I'm there with my awesome forgot who I was talking to. The bird picked up a sword and kept flying around the room. The occupants of the room ducked as he flew over their heads. Fox, put that down, it's not a toy, Dumbledore scolded. The red bird flew a couple more feet and dropped the sword at Harry's feet. Dumbledore began to laugh. I guess he wants to give you a gift. That's the sword of Gryffindor. It's very dangerous, so be careful on your way to put it in a safe spot. You're giving him a sword? Hermione asked. Why not? I have too many things in here anyway, Dumbledore answered. You may leave now. And Harry, be very careful with that. Hagrid led them out and they went their separate ways. Instead of putting the sword in a safe spot, Harry, Hermione, and Ron ran to the forest. Ha-ha, Harry laughed. Now we have a weapon. Tom Riddle won't stand a chance. They arrived at the forest and started to look for Tom Riddle. Guys, I'm going to start the funeral, Ron said as he held his broken wand and sat down on the ground. What funeral? Oh, right, Hermione said as Harry sat down next to him. She joined them and watched Ron take the tape off the twig. Hermione took the tape and put it in her pocket to throw away later. Ron put the twig on the ground. Too soon, he exhaled. I'd like to say a few words about Ron's first wand, Harry started. Is that its official name? Hermione asked. Yes, well, technically it's Ronald Weasley's first wand, but I thought I'd be a bit more casual, Harry answered. Anyway, I didn't get to know Ron's first wand very well, but I wish I did. I suppose with any death there will always be regrets. I just hope we can all move on and always remember Ron's first wand in our hearts, just as it would want. Ron nodded. I know that my first wand would want us to go on to defeat Tom Riddle. I won't let you down, Ron's first wand. He dug the wand a grave and buried it. Hermione found a rock and gave it to Ron to mark the spot. Are we ready to go? Hermione asked. Yeah, Ron answered. They stood up and walked away. Soon they found Tom Riddle and began watching him from behind a large tree. Hermione held her nose. We forgot the respirators. Then we'd better make this quick. Harry jumped out from behind the tree. Freeze, villain! You're under arrest for murdering Dudley. Oh, and by the way, thank you. Ron and Hermione moved forward and stood next to Harry. Tom Riddle started laughing. It was a maniacal laugh that seemed to be spreading evil by its sound waves. You three. Your tall friend makes it impossible to kill you. Now that you're here, I can finally have my revenge. He took the shortest cigarette out of his mouth and replaced it. He lit the new cigarette and picked up his knife. They started backing away to buy some time. Mud, you'd better stand back and keep this safe. Harry tossed Tom Riddle's diary to Hermione. Why did you bring this? She asked. Harry glanced at Hermione. I thought he might sign it. Hermione rolled her eyes and went back behind the tree. Tom was very careful and made sure not to get near Ron. Harry and Tom battled for a while, and Hermione retrieved her pocket knife and began to sharpen a tree branch with it. Did you kill Dudley? Harry huffed. Many deaths have occurred. One of those names could have been Dudley, Tom Riddle answered as he fought. So you killed multiple people in the forest? Ron asked. Perhaps you seek answers that you do not want to hear. That's a yes, Harry responded. I haven't said anything incriminating, Tom Riddle snapped, losing his composure. We all know you killed him, Hermione said as she teetered around the diary while sharpening the tree branch. Watch where you're stepping, Tom Riddle shouted. Hermione looked down at the journal. She picked it up and began poking it with the tree branch. Tom Riddle became more distraught. No! Stop! Hermione didn't listen and instead lifted the branch and then stabbed the book. Tom Riddle lowered his knife. No! My journal! Harry jumped forward and knocked him over. Ron quickly shoved some drugs in his face, making Tom Riddle lose consciousness. Harry looked at the shish-kebabbed diary. Rest in peace, diary. Hermione smiled and picked up the book with the tree branch and waved it around. Now we found the secret. Tom Riddle has a weird attachment to this diary. Not sure why, seeing as it's just a cookbook. They dragged Tom Riddle to Hagrid's cabin while trying to figure out why the cookbook was so important to him. Maybe it's a family heirloom, Hermione guessed. Maybe the pages are laced with drugs, Ron suggested. Ooh, Harry exclaimed. Maybe the diary is actually a Horcrux that's keeping him attached to this world. Yeah, sure, Harry, Hermione laughed as she walked to Hagrid's door. She knocked and Hagrid answered. He quickly noticed the unconscious body. Hermione, what did you do? Fang came out of the small cabin and sniffed Tom Riddle. This is Dudley's killer, Hermione said as she pointed at Tom Riddle with the tree-branched diary. Hold on, Harry, you must have heard my name. Harry stopped playing air guitar and looked at them. Huh? Were you talking? I was writing my theme song in my head. Tom Riddle killed Dudley? Hagrid asked. And he tried to kill us, Harry added. He failed thanks to my amazing drug skills. Oh right, forgot who I was talking to again, Ron said. What do we do with him? Hermione asked as she held the tree branch. Professor McGonagall walked by and looked at Tom Riddle. Gnarly dead body, she exclaimed, holding out her thumb, pointer finger, and pinky on each hand in a heavy metal sort of way. I'll take care of this. You should probably get back to Gryffindor Tower, Hagrid said. They reluctantly agreed and left. They sat in the common room staring at the diary. It still had a tree branch going through it, and it was laying on the table in front of the fireplace. Maybe one of the pages had some actual secrets, Ron suggested. We did only check 3 of them, Harry reminded. Checking every page would take a long time, Hermione said. I've got time, Harry offered. I'll just be hiding in my house for the summer. Your aunt and uncle are still trying to kill you? Hermione asked. They're either trying to kill me or kidnap me. Basically, they hate me, my parents, and everyone who is at least similar to a wizard. Well, good luck, Ron said. They earned 100 points for Gryffindor for finding Dudley's killer, and they spent the rest of their time at Hogwarts trying to earn more points. The last day of school came, and they went to the house championship. The tables had silverware and silver plates for every student. When everyone was seated, lots of food was brought in. The tables were filled with colorful food. Soon the silver plates each had several different foods on them. Ahem, Dumbledore started. This year's new class has been a tremendous success, unlike our second-year students. Dumbledore shuddered. May I have the snare drum? One of the professors whispered something in his ear. Budget cuts? Oh well. This year's award goes to Ravenclaw. Ravenclaw students cheered while Hermione, Harry, and Ron got mad. We solved a murder! Harry shouted. And we crawled through a spider-infested tunnel, Ron added. I blame Snape, Hermione mumbled. I blame Dobby, Harry said. I blame Weasley's no-wheezes, Ron said. Advocating a drug-free lifestyle. It gets you all the points, he mumbled. Dumbledore sat down at the staff table and everyone started to eat their food. Spoons, knives, forks, and napkins were moved from their original locations, and food quickly disappeared from their plates. After they ate, Hermione, Ron, and Harry went to Gryffindor Tower to finish packing. Harry took Tom Riddle's diary and found a few lighters. The only other things he would bring were Rock, Hedwig, and some Hogwarts clothes. He hoped he could be more prepared the following year. The sun rose on another day, and they collected their things and boarded the train at Hogsmeade Station. With their second year concluded, they wondered what adventures would happen in their third. Many things had changed since the first day, and many events have happened. One rainy day during that year, someone had sat in Albus Dumbledore's office and spoke to him. I had a silly idea in the back of my head. I checked just to be sure, and it has led me to our long-awaited discovery.